Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Well, I don't think any of us expected that Tyson Fury dropped by Francis Ngannou and escapes with a split decision in Saudi Arabia. So this had a circus type element to it, this fight. And so too it proved the actual fight proper. So you had a case of Tyson Fury coming out strong, and it just wasn't working for him. He was trying to force the action, and Francis Ngannou was fighting his own fight. He had a strategy, sitting back at range, letting Tyson Fury come to him, trying to counter, trying to basically work off the scraps that Fury would give him from his attacks. And obviously, it was a successful strategy to some extent in this fight, because in round 3, Tyson Fury on the seat of his pants. So clipped with a left hook, which sends him to the canvas. And I think at that point, many of us boxing fans were picking our jaws up off the floor. The narrative coming into this one, and I fully subscribe to it, was that Francis Ngannou was probably going to struggle to hang with Tyson Fury. But for large portions of this fight, it was extremely competitive, and I think two things are true. Tyson Fury underperformed, and Francis Ngannou came better than advertised. We'd all seen those clips on the pads where Ngannou looked pretty pedestrian, but perhaps that was well-placed social media post in terms of trying to make him look worse than he was, because for the most part, he looked assured. He was even turning southpaw in the fight, and it didn't look out of place. I mean, you compare Dillian Whyte to Francis Ngannou in terms of turning southpaw, and the guy who was in the ring tonight, Ngannou, looked better than Whyte. And actually, if you threw those two together, that's a competitive fight. From what we saw, Francis Ngannou has some boxing ability. He was moving his feet okay at times, a little bit slow. There was head movement early on, at least for the first few rounds. And I think if he hadn't have tired and gassed in those mid rounds, because by round 6, he looked tired, and round 7 he basically gave away as well. So you had a case where Tyson Fury was starting to take control of the fight. Then all of a sudden you have a round in round 8 where Ngannou came back to life and he was landing a lot of shots. And at this point, I think some of us were thinking, well, if he picks up 1 or 2 more rounds, he could actually take this fight. He's already got a knockdown in his pocket. But Tyson Fury and Ngannou, basically the last 2 rounds was a bit of a stalemate. Hardly anything sort of happened, which was in stark contrast to earlier parts of the fight where it would just sort of burst into life. Like that knockdown basically came out of nowhere. But in round 3, when he was on the seat of his pants on the canvas, after that round, you had Sugar Hill Stewart saying to him, look, Tyson, you're just trying too hard. And he was trying to force the action. He was trying to make things happen. Right from the first bell, came out swinging, trying to put it on Ngannou and taking some risks. And obviously, in round 3, it caught up with him. So after that, for most of the rest of the fight, you had Tyson Fury being more defensively responsible, working the jab more. And let's face it, that's really what won him the fight. He was more active on the jab, but Ngannou was landing, frequently with shots of his own when he was throwing. There's probably just not enough punches. But you had scores of 96-93 to Fury, 95-94 to Fury, and then 94-95 to Ngannou. And judging by social media, there's quite a few people that thought Ngannou won this fight. I thought Tyson Fury won it on points, and then you minus the knockdown, I still had him up. But seems a lot of people thought that Ngannou should have got the decision. I don't know if that's more of, they were backing the underdog, he did better, so they were giving him more credit. I don't know. But it seems that there is some controversy with this decision. Now tell me, do you think that Ngannou was robbed here? Or do you think this was a fair scoring? I mean, I think the reality is, with this whole sort of circus element, Fury coming in, underperforming, Ngannou overperforming on expectations from the public, reputations have either been enhanced or, in Fury's case, dented to some degree. Dropped against Francis Ngannou, shockingly, I think, for many. But it just shows you, when you've got power and you can land a punch, you're always in a fight to some extent. We've seen it over the years, and obviously here, for a time, Tyson Fury had to dig himself out of a hole. He had to box more responsively to get the decision here. I didn't think it would end up going all 10 rounds. I thought Ngannou would gas and then Fury would sort of take over. And we started to see that. It's just that Fury never sort of put the foot down, probably because of what he was fearing coming back. And overall, I mean, you had Oleksandr Usyk in the crowd there, and you're probably thinking, maybe in your mind, reassessing, okay, well, if these two meet, what does that mean? What do we take from this performance? Because Fury looked a bit out of sorts. But I think some of that too was down to Ngannou was not giving him much to work with at times, standing at range. And also one of the things, besides being patient, which he was during the fight, Ngannou, he was able to meet Fury's physicality, especially in the clinch, able to break out of it at times and not being overawed by Tyson Fury, his stature and his strength. He was able to match it with him on that front. And I think Ngannou also demonstrated a good chin because Fury landed cleanly at times. And, the counters were money for Ngannou when he was, did get the opportunity to throw back and land. So, yeah, Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk, after the fight, when that was asked, or what's happening, because obviously we've been hearing potentially December the 23rd, we know that they've agreed that they will fight. All the details of the when and all that sort of stuff have not been locked down. So you have a case, it's likely to be as part of this Riyadh season in Saudi Arabia. If it's going to be in Riyadh itself, we'll have to see. But Frank Warren said that, Tyson Fury now will rest up. Didn't commit to anything, didn't commit to the 23rd of December. And also in terms of Tyson Fury, he said he needed a long rest. So this fight was partly sold on the basis, at least it was sort of put out there for the public to believe there would be an immediate undisputed fight in about 8 or 10 weeks, whatever the case may be, December the 23rd. And I think we probably have to go, based on what we were hearing after the fight, doesn't seem as likely. So 2024, potentially it could be. Tyson Fury did get a little nick over the, sort of on the low part of his forehead. Doesn't seem to be too bad. Didn't affect him really in the fight beyond the round where he got, a little bit of blood trickling down. But Francis Ngannou, you have to give him credit. After the knockdown, and I think even after the first couple of rounds, even before the knockdown, he came better than advertised. He didn't look like, some of these MMA guys that come into boxing who look uncoordinated. It looks like he has been spending a lot of time in the gym, and his technique wasn't terrible. It was much better than I was expecting. He was able to, go to southpaw as well, and sometimes be effective with that. So, yeah, I think if he wants another payday, he will get it. But Fury, I'm sure people will be coming for him. I'm sure there'll be people in the comments coming for Fury, and people will say his stock has gone down, and people may be reassessing. If an undisputed fight happens, who is the favourite? Does that, what happened tonight have any bearing on that fight, given it's completely different style? Usyk doesn't have the punching power, but Tyson Fury certainly looked human in there. It wasn't a good performance. He didn't look good, and some will say, and I've seen that online, that he was lucky to come away with that. The fact that this was competitive to any real degree is kind of shocking in itself. So you've got to give credit to Ngannou, and Fury will probably be very disappointed with that effort. Especially, he does, take heart of what the public is thinking and saying, and he won't like to hear that people are, maybe not giving him the credit that he probably thinks he still deserves despite that performance. But he stays unbeaten, just a split decision. He was only one scorecard away from taking an L in what would have been one of the massive, biggest upsets, one of the most massive upsets in boxing history. Far more competitive than it should have been. Fury should have done better, should have handled Ngannou better. Is it a case that he just didn't take him seriously and thought he was going to breeze through? There seems to be shades of that potentially, but who knows? Maybe it just the style and the fact that Tyson Fury was made to force the fight against a guy who was largely being negative and wanting counters and to deny Tyson Fury opportunities. Yeah, what do you make of it all? I'm kind of, it was very perplexing, especially the last two rounds. Almost nothing happened. Ngannou had a great round 8, which I gave him, and then after that, it's kind of like he just sort of fell off to some extent. Didn't really throw any punches, neither did Fury, played it safe for those final 2 rounds. Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.